The advisors from the Trump administration COVID task force are in the news recently because they are trying to make themselves sound a lot less culpable and pin it on each other and pin it on Trump, who, yes, it's on Trump. But Peter Navarro is no angel. And he reminded us of this by going on, what show is this? I think it was Newsmax
it's Fox News Primetime, actually.
Oh, no, it's it's Fox News Primetime, but the kind of very little pushback that you would now expect from Newsmax, at least Fox gives an iota. Peter Navarro said a bunch of outrageous things that have been countlessly disproven about Dr. Fauci. Who else?
The father of Fauci's the father of the actual virus. Fauci's the guy. This virus, according to Bob Redfield at the Centers for Disease Control, came from the Wuhan lab. And basically, we had Fauci not only funding that lab with American.
Pause it. Okay. Yes, a former CDC director. This is a part of the CNN package of interviews that happened over the weekend about the Trump administration's COVID-19 response, because CNN must ride the Trump administration and the views that they got them until the end of time. The Redfield guy, the former CDC director who said he thought it originated in the lab and that it was just a theory and that he was allowed to have theories, that's what he said. That is contradicted by constant reports. Thorough reports about the origination of the virus. There has been a thorough audit and overview of where coronavirus originated. They now believe international scientists and a coalition of people have thought that the most likely outcome was that a bat transmitted it to a second animal, which then transmitted it to human beings. So that it was a bat, then eaten by an animal, then eaten by a person through the wildlife trade in China, and then it spread throughout the globe. The virus originating in a lab is considered to be one of the least likely outcomes possible. And yet, conservatives and idiots like Peter Navarro are hinging on this one guy who basically threw it out there incredibly carelessly in order to, I don't know, make some news for himself, which has been contradicted by countless other scientists. They're hinging on that because they want to make it about China and they want to continue to spur up anti-Asian hate and then use China against Biden. That's going to be the new thing. Continue.
Disease control came from the Wuhan lab. And basically, we had Fauci not only funding that lab with American taxpayer dollars, he authorized this thing called gain of function research. He allowed the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Liberation Army, to genetically engineer a virus using gain of function. I call it the Fauci virus now. If he wants to be the father or something, he's the father of the virus that's killed over 500,000 Americans.
Well, Peter, we're still trying to get to the bottom of that, and we're definitely going to bring you back when we get more information on it. But you're right. There's a lot of questions out there. Peter, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. Always a treat.
Yeah. Why did he stand so far away from the microphone there? I've got to say, he was like, he looked like a car salesman saying, here, can you go back to that? Look how far he is. I want you to come buy a Nissan. I want you in my door. We've got the best prices on Long Island. Go to his one shot. It's just like a little bit far away. It's further down.
It's weird saluting.
Yeah, I know, but like in the center of it, I'm hung up on this. I've never seen. I digress. We can go back. But anyway, the man is absolutely insane, and don't listen to what this guy Redfield's saying. The broad consensus by scientists is that this did not originate in a lab, and you know, I've been criticized for pointing out, and I don't think it's legitimate, but it is me, the human rights abuses towards the Uyghur Muslims in China, right? Not that the United States doesn't do so, but I just think it's a relevant topic and something that should be discussed. And people have said, oh, that's drumming up a kind of Red Scare thing with China, right? No, that's what that's doing. That's what Peter Navarro's doing. That's what Republicans are doing, right? They are trying to make COVID into some sort of smoking gun in which they can implicate China and then actually ramp up tariff wars, but in some psycho's mind, maybe like Peter Navarro, some psycho's mind, some actually ground war potentially. There is an element of Red Scarishness that we are seeing, and it's basically pertaining to COVID and then to trade. But we're, I think, very far off from any sort of military conflict with China, just based on the size of China and our size. It would be so catastrophic that even the biggest warmongers in our country aren't, I think, seriously considering it right now. But with that being said, the virus most likely originated in the way I said, from a bat to another host to a human being. And anytime you hear conservatives citing the outliers in these studies, because that's how you get noticed, by the way, is if you don't go along with the broad consensus and you say it originated in a lab. That's the incentive for that. Anytime you hear that, just understand that that's meant to elicit some sort of emotional response from the viewer.
Yeah, I mean, there might not be a war on the offing. I do think that there is, like, the bipartisan nature of the one-upsmanship about who can be tougher on China is really troubling. And I also think that is, to the extent that anyone in the Biden administration or the Democrats plays into it, that they have culpability when it comes to the attacks on Asian people in this country. Because, like, it's like the China virus thing, yeah, Navarro is completely doing that. But I do think that there is, like, there's culpability all around here, and the Democrats have a history of trying to look tough, and not be perceived weak when they should not care about that. And, like, if what's going on with the Uyghurs should be investigated, but I do think it is difficult to untangle from this broader, these emphases, like a lot of the reporting on Uyghurs comes from people who are right, like, even like is distance. It's not by CNN. It's CNN can't confirm this, but here's a source that has placed it right. And when it's tied to NGOs and stuff like that, like it's like the China stuff is really difficult right now, and I think everything needs to be you need to look at this, read the full stories, and see what the sources are, because there is a definite, like, I mean, these are the two world powers, managing each other basically, and you need to figure out what's being used and what's real. So yeah.